Guardians. No, not those Guardians. Guardians of Monster Hunter. The first ever official artificial monsters that have made an appearance in any mainline Monster Hunter game. These monsters are clones of actual existing monsters created by an ancient civilization that existed long ago in the Forbidden Lands of Monster Hunter Wilds. How many of these clone Guardians were created? We don't know. And why were they created? To protect their creators. These are the Guardians of Monster Hunter Wilds. Today, my hunters of the guild, I present to you yet another theory. Well, I guess this is more of a prediction than a theory, about what I think the next guardian that appears to us might be. And if you haven't, please go finish the whole story of Monster Hunter Wilds, low ranked and high ranked. The story is absolutely stunning, with the beautiful collection of monsters, quests surrounding the perfectly designed maps, and being rewarded by amazing looking gear. If all that is said is already done, then welcome to my next Guardian prediction video. A brief summary to what are Guardian monsters. Guardian monsters are revealed to us somewhat throughout half of the story of low ranked in Monster Hunter Wilds. These are artificial monsters that were created by the ancient civilization to act as protectors, or even slaves to put it darker, to their creators. They were set docile for ages after the fall of Wyveria, which then began recently awakening for, story building. Throughout the story, we found out that the Forbidden Lands, the areas in which we are exploring and meeting numerous villages in, are undergoing unusual development. Examples include unusual ecosystems constantly changing throughout the day, each location possessing white structures buried beneath them that is known as wilt, and some familiar faces that we know from past games but looked a little bit off than usual when found in Wyveria. These monsters are guardians. They don't eat, sleep, and only receive their energy from wilt found in mainly Wyveria or nearby locales too. Not only did we just get these monsters by themselves, but we were also given new weaponry, armor, materials, and even monster entries. Unfortunately, base Wilds only gave us a small handful of these guardian monsters, with a total of 5 being introduced, excluding Zoishia, since that's a monster on its own. These 5 included Guardian Doshakama, Guardian Rathalos, Guardian Archfield, Guardian Ebony Odagaran, and Guardian Folger Anjanath. So why these monsters as guardians? It's safe to assume the ancient civilization created guardian variants for these certain monsters for specific reasons, or just because they were easy subjects at the time to start off with due to their close inhabitants of the area. I would like to include the Shagama and Rathalos in that category, being only made into a guardian variant because of their close connection to the surrounding area, making a good start to a world-bending experiment that ended up creating the construct species. Archfield, I want to assume, had its own reasoning apart from the others. It's possible that it was on the brink of extinction and they wanted to make a perfect copy of its species to somewhat preserve the species in a way. I honestly have no idea how that would work, since guardian monsters don't breed, unless they do, but some mysteries will always be unsolved in the Monster universe, so I'm not even going to ask. So what about World's monsters, aka Folder Anjanath and Ebony Odagaran? These two I want to mainly focus on for this video, since they are the reason I came up with this video in the first place. Both of these monsters were introduced in Monster Hunter World, and only both of their subspecies are spotted in wilds. A lot of questions about these two can be brought up to discussion, like how are they here, where is their original species counterpart, why is that their subspecies are only ones who have a guardian variant? With the defensive thinking, you can somewhat come to conclusion for these questions. The creators of the Guardians wanted nothing less than perfection. They wanted more. Therefore, they searched and searched for the stronger, more feared subspecies of monsters rather than just their original counterparts. Subspecies carried the burden of always packing a stronger punch, naturally receiving more predator power, and just being more intimidating overall. Sometimes subspecies can live in places that their original counterparts can't, places they could go if they needed to be relocated in crucial times of danger. As we know, some Guardians were created for specific reasons, how Ebony was cloned to be a high-end guard, keeping eyes out at all times, and Folder being cloned to look cool as shit, I guess? If that's the case, then why didn't they just try to clone a monster that could do both? Maybe a monster that is swift to react into any movement, a monster always urging for a fight, a monster that doesn't stop until their prey is completely devoured, a monster that even Folger and Anjanath couldn't stand up to, a monster that inhabits characteristics from both Guardians, a monster that can live in any condition, a monster like Savage Deviljho. Why Savage Deviljho? I don't think Wyveria created Savage Deviljho necessarily, or at least intentionally, but I do think they tried or at least did clone a regular Deviljho on purpose. Some reasons why I say this is that Deviljho was most likely a creation of theirs that would immediately spark out of control and destroy all of their work. Like I said, we don't know much about Guardian monsters, especially if they were always 100% under control or not, but a Guardian Deviljho sure wasn't just going to be some obedient pet. Although with their overwhelming craziness, the people of Wyveria knew how dangerous a Deviljho could be, which is perfect for a last wild bodyguard to their wholehearted research and construct species program, or so they thought. It turns out a Guardian Deviljho was too much to handle, so they discontinued the Guardian Deviljho program. What they do with the already established ones? They most likely put them down to their best effort, or let them roam, eventually escaping and leaving them further dead due to the lack of will intake. Again, or so they thought. Savage Deviljhos aren't just some ordinary monster nor variant. These variants get in the state when a Deviljho is driven mad due to its lack of food intake and its hunger rising, leaving it psychotic and drenched in dragon element. They will then attempt to literally eat anything that will see moving. So what happens when a Guardian Deviljho has no wilt to intake after a while? Does it die like every other Guardian? No. It's also driven psychotic and into a brain-dead like state that will see and eat anything that moves, if that anything contains wilt at least. My theory is that Savage Deviljho will be the next Guardian to appear, or at least a Guardian to appear sometime in the future. It would be a perfect Guardian to be introduced in Master Ranked and be a major plot line near the end of the Master Ranked story. It could be introduced by the people of Averia mentioning that many Guardian monsters have gone missing for unknown reason, or just them noticing their population is less than normal recently. It is possible for Deviljho to be hiding or just stranded in the surrounding locales. As we know, wilt can be found out of Averia, but rarely. The Guardian Deviljho starts realizing some wilt here and there just isn't enough, leaving its hunger further overpowering and eventually leaving them to relocate to Iberia and feed off wilt-infested monsters. Most of you may be thinking, oh, this is just all speculation and straight up theorizing, which you are right, but I didn't just think of this theory up out of nowhere without any type of basis. If we take a look at Monster Hunter World's Hunter's Notes, we can note some similarities. Folder, Anjanath, and Ebony Lodiran both are superior when it comes to being territorial. Folder is generally a T-Rex, so he's already above the food chain, and Ebony is a ferocious frenzy eater who will always be on a hunting spree. Savage Deviljho also shares the similarities of these two, being extremely territorial and owning everything in its path with extreme overwhelming swiftness. Not just that, but all three monsters can be found anywhere, leaving them to withstand any living condition as long as there is prey for them to feed on. Coincidence? I think not. Each of these monsters were obviously picked carefully by the creators of the Guardians to ensure no flaws, as little as not being able to withstand a little heat or cold would get in the way of their development process. From what we have seen so far, Guardian, Folder, and Ebony ended up being perfect, exactly what they wanted from a Guardian. Well, until we slayed them. Another thing I noticed is that Savage Deviljho kinda has similar factors that Folder, Anjanath, and Ebony Lodiran would have if they fused together. First being the same type of dino build that Deviljho and Anjanath share, or just a similar way they present themselves. And second, Savage Deviljho also sharing swiftness with Lodiran and its hunger. Maybe not as fast, but he'd still be moving though. And thirdly, the dragon element that Lodiran possesses. If Folder and Lodiran did fuse, the dragon element would most likely just cancel Folder's thunder element. Moving on from the fusion talk, apart from specifically wanting a Guardian Savage Deviljho, it's highly possible they would just put out a Guardian Deviljho and roll out the theory of it being a savage due to the lack of wilt intake. Although my theory does stand behind Monster Hunter World's notes, and which monsters could survive each environment with little to no environmental obstacles. So I'd rather they put the effort into making a Guardian Savage Deviljho instead of just a regular one. And everyone remembers the equipment for Savage Deviljho from World, right? It is absolutely stunning. I mean, I'm a huge hammer main myself, and specifically this is just like wow. I've thought of a way on how they can make the weapons even better, and it would start off with obviously adding the white splatter on top like all the other Guardian weapons have, mainly here, and then also adding the healing wound effect into the left side of the hammer. Like that would look sick, like blue coming out left side and then the dragon element coming out the right side. I don't know, it would just be really amazing in my opinion. But I am a hammer main mainly, so I'm sure there are other weapon users who could imagine something similar that's just as amazing. And the armor is already good looking too, but I doubt they'll change much other than just adding the white splatter and editing white areas or on whatever places. But that's about it for theorizing about who I think the next Guardian will be, or just a Guardian to look for in the future. I don't have any other sensible connections to really help confirm a Guardian Savage Deviljho is in the works, but time will tell. I do have a list of other possible Guardian monsters we may see in the future, but I was just going to make a separate video explaining all of them on how they could be brought back and how their existence/lore would fit into the game, so look forward for that video in the future. I didn't just want to cram each of them at the end of the video. I mean, they do deserve their spotlight with equal love after all. Extra, I do have some extra details to share I found while looking for info to help this video topic, but this is just extra random information. Nothing that's really contributing to the theory, just some fun facts about a possible Guardian Savage Deviljho. Firstly, Turf Wars. In World, Ebony and Savage do actually have their own Turf Wars, so if a Guardian Savage Deviljho does get announced and is brought into Wilds, we can be looking forward to a newer, updated version of their past fighting world. And secondly, investigations. It's possible to get Master Rank investigations that hold either Savage Deviljho plus Ebony or Savage Deviljho plus Folder, so I thought that was pretty interesting, and it's most likely going to be the same thing with their Guardian variants, since they'd all be located in Wyveria and or another future wilt-infested area that might get brought into the Wilds expansion. And that's it. If you have any thoughts or opinions on this theory, then please share down in the comments and I'll reply to them. I'm also interested if any of you have Guardian predictions, since they are pretty amazing and can like pretty much be any monster from the whole entire series. But who knows, maybe even a monster from Frontier too. So please share your predictions down below also. Thank you for staying and watching all the way till the end of my video. Much love. Peace.